Hello there, it's Tania Gabrielle, Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes. This is the podcast where we explore an upcoming event in the astrology and numerology, and we look at the stars and numbers to help us gain the best perspective so we can be at our very best as the event unfolds. And in this case, the event is the first eclipse of the second half of the year, and that is the Scorpio partial solar eclipse, a partial new moon eclipse. And you don't have to be a Scorpio to benefit from this forecast. You have Scorpio in your birth chart somewhere. And so this eclipse, as all lunations, take place somewhere in your astrology birth chart. So this new moon takes place at 11:49 a.m. Universal Time in England, and that would be 6:49 a.m. Eastern and 3:49 a.m. Pacific Time. New moons, and that includes solar eclipses, begin a new cycle every month. And in this case, the beginning is rooted in the planet Venus and the number 2. And that's because the sun and moon will be at 2 degrees Scorpio, exactly conjunct Venus at 2 degrees Scorpio, setting up a 222 code, which echoes 2022, which also has a 222, and facilitates any relationship, but the most important relationship is the one between you and Creator, you and your heart. And so that will be a very big theme. 222 adds up to 6. 6 is the number of love. It represents a pregnant woman carrying a child, being responsible, being nurturing. And so this is a very powerful numerology code. Now, Venus also represents love. Venus conjunct sun and moon. Now, Venus also represents love. Venus also represents having that connection that is based on creativity and that is based on high values. Venus rules Taurus, and the next eclipse we're going to experience on November 8th will have the moon in Taurus. So the eclipse cycle is currently in the signs of Scorpio and Taurus, and it will continue into next year as well. So we have a lot of Venus energy and we have a lot of Scorpio energy. And so Scorpio is really connected to purging, release, and through that letting go cycle, uncovering the truth. So let's look at a few transits. The sun and moon and Venus, all at 2 degrees Scorpio, are quincunx, that is 150 degrees sacred geometry, to Jupiter at 0 degrees in Aries, the first sign. Now, let me paint the picture for you here, because Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is actually the original ruler, the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So there is an actual connection here to the planet Mars, which I'll talk about more in a sec. But this quincunx by the sun, moon, and Venus to Jupiter at 150 degrees is very powerful. Jupiter expands and is filled with wisdom. Jupiter's the ruler of Sagittarius. Wisdom that comes from a broad view, from a bird's eye view. Jupiter rules abundance, and Jupiter is closer to Earth than it has been in 50 years. So Jupiter actually appears larger than ever in our experience of looking up into the sky at night. So have a look at Jupiter. You know, Jupiter represents the biggest planet of our solar system. And so when it comes the closest and appears even larger, it has an even bigger impact on us. And that's a good thing, because Jupiter does represent expansion and wealth and wisdom. And we want all those, of course. Just remember the shadow side, and every planet and sign and number has a shadow side as well. Light and dark exist together. The shadow side of Jupiter is to overdo it, to overindulge, or to get too caught up in the big picture and lose a sense of the smaller details that are just as important. So we have that beautiful triple quincunx with Jupiter in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. And then we also have Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, in another quincunx. We have two very powerful quincunx aspects in this eclipse. Another quincunx to Mars. So Pluto is 150 degrees from Mars, the ancient ruler of Scorpio. So that's really powerful energy. It's passionate. And as you uncover mysteries, which Pluto and Scorpio love to do, investigate the situations to the core, dive into those mysteries, those secrets, but keep your mind open and flexible at all times so you don't overreact. Pluto and Mars can get, on their shadow side, very emotional. Here's the other thing. Mars stations retrograde 5 days after this eclipse on October 25th. On October 30th, Mars begins its long retrograde, which lasts through January 12th. And I will do a separate star code forecast for that very powerful Mars retrograde. So Scorpio is a fixed sign. Scorpio is a water sign. Scorpio intensifies energy. It observes everything and everyone, has eyes on the back of the head. Scorpio transforms, and ultimately Scorpio uncovers the truth. And it does so through tremendous intuition, psychic abilities. Mars, the original ruler of Scorpio, is very instinctual. So Scorpio, being so sensitive and intuitive and feeling everything, also operates on instinct. And Scorpio eliminates everything that has gotten old. So in doing so, Scorpio uncovers the unseen, the unconscious, and makes it visible. Now, Mars is instinctual, and Mars is in that quincunx to Pluto, really the co-rulers of Scorpio. Both Pluto and Mars are magnetic, and they're considered sexual. In fact, Scorpio is considered the sign of, amongst other things, sexuality, but also life, death, rebirth, and financial flow that exists between you and the other. And of course, psychic awareness and uncovering secrets and the truth. So when we look at the passion that exists with Mars and Pluto, we need to understand that being passionate doesn't mean that it needs to be seen as sexual. In our society, we tend to sexualize pretty much everything. And it is the source of so much pain and suffering, because sexualization, it happens in the mind. And the mind equates romance and sex to money. That's how we've been programmed. So if you reflect on your life, you'll start to see patterns if you look at the words and the behavioral patterns in relation to sexuality, to money, to romance, and to power or disempowerment. So when we start doing that, and Scorpio is asking us to dive deep, we start noticing what we think, what we say, and what we do. And all of that needs to come into oneness within us before we can even start to evolve and transform. So when you align what you think, what you say, with what you do, all three, the Trinity, you no longer are disconnected. You are no longer operating from memory, because your mind, which creates these connections, lives in memory, lives in memories of time, repetitive patterns. And as long as you are in your mind, you forget to focus on the Trinity of what you think, what you say, and what you do are all one. You forget about that because there's so many distractions. When the mind is the only source of what you think, what you say, what you do, then it's constantly going. It's constantly being distracted. So we need to let go of our emotional attachments to memory. Our mind will always take us out of the present moment. The mind is always going to confuse you. And the more you observe that when you are in this present moment, your mind wants to go somewhere else. Your mind wants to think about what else is going on, what's in your calendar, what bills are due, whatever's distracting you, whatever's online, whatever it is. So really challenge yourself during the Scorpio new moon to set you up to be grounded for the next couple years. Really challenge yourself to observe that your body is the only part of you that is completely present. So you want to listen to the cues. Scorpio is a very sensitive sign, and it will help you listen to your body. Scorpio is aligned to profound depths, and those depths are obviously explored more easily in silence. So take time to be in silence around this partial solar eclipse in Scorpio. Silence really is the origin of creation. And Scorpio goes deep within. It's a deep water sign. So give yourself permission to feel here. You will shift out of being in emotional reaction. You will feel more neutral and passionate as opposed to emotional and aggressive or reactive or submissive, whatever the case may be. And the neutrality is very important. Understanding that being neutral and passionate is totally possible without being reactive. It changes your interaction to the outer world, to be in a neutral place, to walk the middle ground, to not choose one over the other in terms of belief systems, in terms of right or wrong, black or white, but to be neutral and observe, to only be the observer. Scorpio, in the highest expression of the sign, is the ultimate observer because it seeks truth and it seeks to dive into the deepest unseen places to uncover what was not seen and dissolve it and forgive. So doing this will change what you manifest, what you create for yourself, and it really is an awakening that is being generated. And remember that quincunx to Jupiter from Venus, Sun, and Moon is very much helping that. Jupiter is very connected to learning, to the highest spiritual awareness. And you want to tap into that from here and not from here. So it's really the trust in your connection to source that is always there. You've never been abandoned. You never will be abandoned. And all you need to do is observe and to trust. And I have a new masterclass, a free, wonderful new masterclass for you that goes into how you can evolve at a faster pace so you can stay grounded during these tremendous times of change. Go to spiritualmasteryclass.com and you'll see it will help you to just discover the secret to spiritual mastery, the importance of individuality versus uniqueness. And this is a very important difference to understand. We'll look at what the rising sign means, what your sun and moon sign represent, and it literally uncovers your connection to spirit. So enjoy that at spiritualmasteryclass.com and have a beautiful Scorpio partial solar eclipse. Lots of love. And I will see you in next week's Star Codes podcast.